Frustrated Incorporated. Does anybody know what that's from? It's a song on the first Clerks movie. Hi. Welcome.
Sorry.
Oh, it's you're talking to me.
No.
Oh, sorry.
I was just saying hello.
Hello.
Welcome to New the Scene with your hosts, Nick, Amber, and Lance. You've been in enough of these where it's not special guest.
It's not special anymore.
No, I'm not special. I'm going to go cry myself to sleep then after this video.
These are extra special.
What's new about that?
Oh.
We all cry ourselves to sleep around here.
Everybody hurts. All right, so this week we very quickly decided to do a Clerks III review.
I don't think it's even been 24 hours since you're like, hey, let's do a Clerks III review.
I think around this time last night is when we started the movie. So
Yeah, or a little bit before it. So
well, I knew that it was like it's been out there for a while. It came out in theaters, then it disappeared, and then
yeah, it had a very limited release.
It's new-ish.
Yeah.
To streaming, or I guess direct download or whatever.
Digital
download.
Yeah.
Because it's not physical yet, and it's not on streaming services yet, so it's not a co-video. And it's new-ish to the scene.
Yeah, Kevin Smith has been doing weird releases lately, but I think it's because he goes on a tour, a talking tour for the movies that he releases now.
And that's what he did with the reboot of Jay and Silent Bob.
Well, I think the thing is next week. So, but we're good on that one.
Which thing is next week?
The Clerks 3 one for this one?
Yeah, the Clerks 3, they go to the...
Oh, is he coming near here?
Yeah.
Well, when Jay and Silent Bob, he went to Charleston Music House. Mm-hmm. And we went to that. That was actually a lot of fun.
I've still not seen the Jay and Silent Bob. Was it Reboot? Is that what it's called?
Or Redux or something like that.
It's
Jay and Silent Bob Rebooted or something like that?
Yeah, Reloaded, whatever.
Okay.
But, and
so I missed that one.
I got to talk to him. He actually pointed at me, and then some guy behind me started like, "Hey, in the second movie when you did," and Kevin Smith actually pointed at the guy and went, "Not you, the other guy," and pointed at me, and I was like, "Me?" And he's like, "Yeah, you," and I got to ask my question, and I got to tell my funny Clerk story, and I'll tell it here real quick. The way I was introduced to Clerks wasn't that I had ever heard of Kevin Smith, because when he released the movie, he was an unknown. And it was a movie that came out underneath the radar because I don't think it went to theaters. And if it did, it was a very short run. I went to my local Hollywood Video, and they were selling a bunch of merch for super cheap in bins out front of the store. And I found a hockey jersey and went, "Cool, jersey." And I picked it up, and I said, "Clerks." And I went, "The fuck is that?" And then they were like, "Yeah, that's a $7 jersey." And I was like, "Hockey jersey for $7? I don't give a shit what it says." So I bought it and wore it. And then somebody approached me weeks later and was like, "Did you like the movie?" And I was like, "Oh, that's a movie?" And then I went and watched the movie, and I loved it. And I told Kevin Smith that story, and he was like, "Wow, I don't even know what to say about that." I can't remember what exactly he said, but he was just kind of like, "Oh, okay, well, the movie usually brings you to the merch, but the merch brought you to the movie," I think is exactly what he said. Anyways, so this is the portion where we are going to give our ratings, and then after that, we're going to spoilers.
Yes.
So, Nick, on a scale from 0 to 10, what would you give Clerks 3?
I'm sitting at about a 6.
Yeah.
As in, it was like, it was fine.
Yeah.
And I'll get into more of that once we actually start.
I had
talking
a
about the
feeling,
movie.
based on having watched it, why you would likely give it a 6.
And we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So, Amber.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, sorry, hold on. I guessed it again. Yeah. Sorry. Amber, if you had to give Clerks 3 a rating from 0 to 10, what would you give it?
So, I think I'd give it a 7.
I was one low. Because I have no frame of reference for what Amber thinks of the Kevin Smith movies.
I sweeped it this week. Awesome, which means I'm going to completely miff it for the next couple of weeks. So. Yeah. Okay, so does anybody want to ask me a question?
What would you give it?
So,
Okay.
All right. I would give Clerks 3 I'd give it a 7.
Okay. Oh, high.
I was way high because after we talked about it last night, I thought you would be much higher on it.
So we'll get into it.
So, I bought this one on YouTube, so it's buyable in places. I don't think it's currently rentable, but if you're a Kevin Smith fan, I think you know that you want to watch this movie.
Yeah.
And it's Clerks 3.
If you enjoyed the other Clerks movies,
So you might not know if you want to buy it or not. I mean, you've probably seen Tusk and Yoga Hosers at this point, and you might be like,
But it's Clerks 3. It's his main thing, not one of his little side projects.
Yep, it's his flagship.
Kind of like Red State went under the radar too, for the most part.
Oh man, that was such a good movie.
It was pretty good.
I loved it.
It's the real horror movie to me.
Yeah.
Religious people.
Yes.
Sorry, fundamentalist religious people.
That's what's killing the planet right now. So, anyways, so
Shall we get into
Yes.
the spoiler section and actually deep dive into the movie?
here it is. There you go. Welcome back. And on with the show. So
I really thought after you gushed and gushed and gushed on Brian Halloran, I believe his name's
Brian
performance.
Is that Dante?
Dante's performance and how much you weeped openly during that movie that you would have given it a much, much higher score.
Okay.
I figured the hit you in the sads was why you would give it a low score.
Oh, it's also it was emotional, but I don't think the movie earned it being emotional. The other two movies earned it being emotional.
Yeah.
I don't think like this movie itself was just kind of like member Clerks, guys, look, member, here's a character you love dead. Fuck you.
Yes, in case you didn't know, the first thing you find out about Rosario Dawson after seeing her name is she's effing dead.
Yep.
She dead.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, my God, I guess I couldn't get Rosario Dawson back. But they showed her in the movie, and I'm like, I guess I just didn't want to get her back.
Well, as soon as like they showed the picture of her taped by the register, I had Lance roll it back because I thought I read 2006.
2006,
and I was like, that was the year Clerks 2 came out,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh shit, she died either in childbirth or before that baby was born. One of the two.
You said you went roll it back, and I rolled it back, and you went, isn't that when Clerks 2 came out? And I went, I don't know. And she went and looked and went, that's when Clerks 2 came out. And I was like, okay. And she goes, where's the baby? And I was like, I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out. And boy, did we.
Yeah.
So I gave this movie a 7 because there was a lot of jokes that fell flat for me. The tiny dick stuff was just kind of like, okay.
That was typical
It wasn't funny. Elias, his stuff wasn't funny.
No, I found her more annoying.
Yeah,
He
it's
was
like
annoying in the second one, though.
Yes.
what I love about Kevin Smith in his old movies is that the banter is king in those movies. Like the back and forth, the banter, it's great. I love it. This banter in this movie it felt kind of forced. Like he had an idea for a good movie, which was the second half of the movie, and then they kind of like put dick and fart jokes around, like to fill out the hour and 50-minute running time. So those weren't really hitting with me. The feels punches, those were hitting. And where the movie got a 7 for me was Brian O'Halloran's part where he had the panic attack when he was going back into the movies. And then when he was laying on the counter and they were doing the salsa shark scene, and like you could tell he was going into the banter from the movie, and then he has that breakdown.
Yeah.
Where he's like screaming. That was some of the best acting I've ever seen in a Kevin Smith movie. That's just my opinion, because like that rage, I could feel that fucking rage coming through the TV.
Yeah.
And it was emotional and it was moving to me, because it was like you're watching a person who has not probably been dealing with
Any
the
of his
loss,
emotions,
health, not in a healthy way. And of course, fucking Randall Graves has a way of milking out the fucking, pain, the infection, just by being who he is. And of course someone gets upset with him and it all comes out, and basically he just explodes. I thought that part was very well done, and like it's some of the most believable acting I've seen in the past year. But that's it got a 7 because it was it the best Clerks movie? No. I'd give the first Clerks movie like around a 9. I'd give the second Clerks movie around an 8. This one was about a 7 but it was for different reasons because the Clerks 1 and 2 were funny and moving. And this one was not as funny and extremely moving. And I also took away one point because Jason Mewes' teeth just bother me now.
Yeah, it's I couldn't tell if they were dentures or veneers, but they are shockingly white.
I think he had every tooth pulled out of his head. They're all implants.
Okay.
Which that's very common to do if you've had severe teeth problems for whatever reason, and we know what his reason probably was.
Yeah. So, but I just wanted to explain that just off the top. Yes.
No, that's fine.
I liked the movie very much because it was a love letter.
Well, I think it's a bit of a love letter, but it's also, I think, Kevin Smith's way of exploring the emotional trauma of having his own heart attack.
Yeah.
Because heart attack was such a central theme to both Randall and Dante, ultimately, and the fact that he had a heart attack.
He had a widowmaker too.
Yeah. And so I think for him, that was a way to explore the trauma he personally experienced and how, and probably it was a way to have a catharsis moment with it and, help himself come to terms, which I think is why so many of the scenes that were so powerful and so well written and so emotional were that way, is because he probably worked through some of his own, anger and whatnot, maybe at himself, maybe at other people who helped him become the way he was. But I did love all the cameos in the movie.
Yeah. Did you notice the one with Amy Sedaris?
Yes. Immediately.
I thought that was just kind of amusing where he's on the table talking about Mandalorian.
That was great.
Yeah.
I just wish she was throwing all of the wrong fucking quotes for different things, and he's like, "What the fuck?" Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. As soon as I saw her, I was like, "Well, at least he's got a good mechanic working on his heart." But yeah,
I love the audition scene though when they're going through the auditions.
Is it because they have Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr.?
Partly.
So when we were watching that, as soon as Buffy showed up, she went, "Hey!" No, it was Freddie Prinze Jr. first, right?
No, Buffy was.
Okay.
Buffy,
When Buffy
Freddie
showed
was
up,
the end.
as soon as Sarah Michelle Gellar showed up, she was like, "Hey, Buffy!" And then all of a sudden, Freddie Prinze Jr. later on, he's like,
Hey, Kanan.
"Hey, Freddie Prinze Jr."
No, it's hey, Mr. Buffy.
Yeah, Mr.
If they're in the same movie, it's Buffy and Mr. Buffy. Come on.
Yeah. And then of course we started going back and looking at some of the other stuff. So apparently Michael Chiklis was in.
Oh, was he one of them?
Yeah, he was the older guy that kind of stared dead into the camera and said something like, I'd fuck that, or something like that. I'd fuck me.
The schooner guy was the schooner guy, right?
Ethan Suplee was the schooner guy, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and the person who's like, you should, whoever told this or whoever wrote this you need to talk to your mother or whatever.
Yeah, that was his mom.
Kevin
That was
Smith's
his
mother,
mom.
Yeah. Of course, they got.
And then they had
Mr. Boston.
Mr. Boston.
Ben Affleck.
Oh yeah, of course you gotta have him.
They had Anthony Michael Hall. He was the guy who he said the line and then he rephrased it, something about missing his underpants.
Can I borrow your panties for 10 minutes? It was the guy that played Brian in 16 Candles.
He was in Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club.
He was in Weird Science.
Pretty in Pink.
He was the guy who gets kidnapped in Batman Begins.
The
No,
reporter.
the Dark Knight.
He's an actor, Nick.
Okay.
He's an actor in Hollywood.
But he's in John Hughes movies, which is a big theme in Dogma.
Okay.
Because, Jay and Silent Bob go off to the same town that all the John Hughes movies were filmed in.
Okay.
And Kevin Smith just used John Hughes as one of his, inspirations. So it was getting him to be one of those people is a way of saying, hey, I still remember my roots of who inspired me in so many of my early movies.
Yeah, one of the other things that touched me about the movies is that I think he went through special pains to get back everybody who's gone on that journey. Even the little girl who lights up a cigarette in the first movie, where they get when they get slapped with the ticket for selling cigarettes to minors. The little girl comes in and Randall just absentmindedly sells her a pack of nails, and then she lights up the cigarette in the store, and then there's a girl in this movie who lights the cigarette, and it's the same little girl from that first movie. And I just like that he went and grabbed everybody.
I've not seen Clerks 1 or 2 in a very long time. And with the kind of sudden last minute, hey, we're going to do this tomorrow, I didn't go back and rewatch any of them, so I've got very little frame of reference for this movie. I like Kevin Smith movies. I've never been a super huge fan, and I think over time I've just lost interest in his style of humor, I guess.
Well, I mean, I like certain movies of his. Not all of them.
I've not seen many of his in a long time, but I think
One of his
Dogma
favorites
used to be my favorite.
One of his favorites. I'm just like, eh.
I love Mallrats. To me, it's one of his
That's
best
not the
movies
one
of
I
all
was gonna
time.
say.
Which one were you going to say?
I'm not big on Chasing Amy,
So I didn't like Chasing Amy for the longest time.
but I know you do like it. So
Well, I came around on it because like I actually thought about it for a while, and
I'm not a big fan of it.
I've
Though.
seen it like once.
and then like Jersey Girl was another movie that I wasn't big on either. But then like I came around on it because I understood what he was kind of like going for by making those movies. It's when he did Tusk, like because it's
Your soul died.
so. I'll tell you this.
I remember you and Shay kept talking.
Well, I watched that movie, and like the entire time I'm watching it, I'm like, "What the fuck am I watching? Like, what's happening? Is this a joke? Is he gonna walk out halfway through the movie and be like, okay, I'll really show the real movie"? It didn't happen. Like Johnny Depp was fucking horrible. Like everything about that movie was bad. The best part of that movie was the Fleetwood Mac fucking battle. And I'm not gonna ruin anything, but you'll know.
I'm gonna watch it.
Oh yeah, queuing it
them.
up as soon as this is
okay.
Them.
off.
I'm doing this for them.
I'm not watching it. You can stop pointing at the camera and saying you're doing it for them.
It hurts when you make the joke. It doesn't hurt as bad when we do. Now so I think Kevin Smith went through a period of time that Adam Sandler did, where Adam Sandler just seemed like he didn't give a shit anymore and was making like Jack and Jill. Mm-hmm. Like that is probably one of the worst
It's like
movies.
every other movie for Adam Sandler.
So I've never seen either Jack and Jill or Tusk. I wouldn't compare those two. Because Jack and Jill is obviously I don't give a fuck.
So is Tusk. Like Tusk is bad. It's really bad.
Adam, well, to be fair, Adam Sandler normally is like, I want to go to X location, write me a movie around that, and then that's why his movies always take place at different exotic locales, is because he was like, I want a vacation in Africa.
No.
I want to go back to Hawaii for the 17th time.
Does Tusk have a Dunkachino scene?
Dunka. That's not like the best part of that movie though. Burn this. That part was fucking hilarious. Just because it was Al Pacino. But no, the whole lead up to that was uncomfortable. But I think Kevin Smith went through a Adam Sandler phase where it was just like, I don't care what I'm doing. It's just I want to make movies. I don't give a shit about the script. And I think that was also when he was going through his Will Smith, Jalen Pinkett Smith phase, where it's got to be, I've got to put my daughter up front. I have never seen Yoga Hosers. I don't intend to. And I had no hope for Kevin Smith movies after I saw those two movies because it was like, obviously he doesn't give a shit anymore. This movie has pulled me back in. And I hope I'm not betrayed. And when I say that, I know, and I'll end my little diatribe here. When I say that, if someone happens to watch this movie, this video review, and they're like, oh, he's one of those fucking guys. It's not that. I've been along for the ride for Kevin Smith movies for the longest time. I have no real expectations from him. I've just come to rely on some of the movies he makes because they're great. The Banner is fantastic. The man knows how to write a scene. When he did Tusk, it just seems like he was really fucking high and wrote a script, and then they started filming it.
I think that's all of his scripts.
I listened to one of his podcasts, and he's giggling about when they were talking about coming up with the concept of it, and it was just like, I don't know. Anyways, Kevin, if you watch this, it's not like I expect anything out of you, and you didn't betray me and ruin my childhood or anything like that. It was just fucking weird seeing that shift. And then you followed it up with Yoga Hosers, and I just refused because I had no tears left to cry. But
you always have tears to cry.
But yeah, well, I mean, well, especially with this movie. This movie had me fucking weeping a lot last night.
I legitimately turned and looked at the chair after the movie ended, and I said, "Fuck you, Lance," as I'm wiping tears away because he didn't say we're gonna watch this, so he just kind of put it on, and I was like, I guess I'm watching this now because it kind of pulled me in, and then I'm crying, and I hate crying at movies now because I don't want to be hit in the feels. Thank you very much.
I didn't know it was a feels movie. Like I didn't know.
I didn't either.
That's not what. Again, that's not what I've come to expect from Kevin Smith.
No, but it was a surprisingly nice feels in the way that I was not aware that Kevin Smith could evoke so much emotion from me. from some of the things, and he did. He managed to.
I wonder how much of that was the movie doing a good job, and more of it being characters you already know.
So I don't really have any kind of attachment to Rosario Dawson's character. That was sudden. The fact that they lost the kid as well, that hurt me. Just because it seems like anything that happens with kids these days just makes me fucking cry. Thanks, Jack.
There was certainly a touch of emotion for the parental aspect, but I mean, yeah, the emotion to Dante was earned through the previous two films, but the acting from the actor
He did good.
pulled it off.
Yeah.
So I feel like he earned it in this movie because he never really truly expressed that level and quality of acting in the other two movies.
But so I mean that's probably true, but also to me, my brother died from a cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
So pretty much anything that you put in a movie about that sort of shit is going to affect me regardless of how well or awfully the people are doing. So it didn't strike me as they earned this so much as this feels cheap. But that's just because those are emotions that are still close to me, and him 15 years later still dragging ass about grief and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I see that in my future 10 years from now or whatever.
So like one of the things
he's been gone for 5 years and she's been gone for 15.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay.
Well, one of the things that I feel like helps for me to sell the emotion for that's earned in this film is actually weirdly an Elias scene when Dante's first taken to the hospital after he collapses, and Randall's there, and Randall and Elias are in the hallway. When Randall had his heart attack at the beginning of the movie, Elias and Dante both stayed, and they waited in that in the waiting area, and they made sure he was okay. They never even thought to leave or anything. And the minute that Randall was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go back and shoot the movie, and you could just see it in Elias like that, and he was like, are you effing kidding me? And that really helped sell so much of the emotion of what was going on, because it's like we already knew how much Dante had given up to ensure Randall got his dream, no matter how much he was diminishing Dante in the process of it. But he, Elias knew it, and just to see like them kind of dogpile Randall in a way, but it was like, it was all earned. He deserved that kind of verbal stripping. And I wish that the only thing I wish Elias would have done is said, when you had your heart attack, he never once thought to leave. But then Randall just goes running off like he always does.
Randall's thoughtless. Randall Graves he's a man-child. He's thoughtless and he's very self-centric. But his character has grown through the movies. And then, of course...
Has he?
He has. So in the first movie, he was completely thoughtless. And then the second movie, when he has the scene in the jail cell, when he's like, you're my best friend. You've been here for me the longest. Like, he had an epiphany in that movie where it was like, let's you've always been here. And then, of course, he switches back at the beginning of this movie to standard Randall Graves.
At the beginning of this movie, it seems like he has growth. But then at the beginning of the next movie, he's the same again. Then he goes through the same growth. Yeah. And then he's the same again. Then he goes through the same growth.
I feel like it's almost like a person who, like, something will happen and they're like, I'm going to work out. I'm going to start going to the gym, start taking better care of myself. And then like 2 weeks later, they're just like, Doritos are good. We all have slipping points. Like, his character is a slipping point, but he's funny. So like they keep giving him,
in some of the movies.
Yeah, they keep giving him the same shtick because like, the super narcissistic fucking, everybody can go fuck themselves character. Like, they were doing the same jokes in this one too, where it was,
the comedy was derivative.
This one definitely felt member berries with sprinkling of new troubles or whatever, like surviving heart attacks, and this is sort of changes that, like, because I mean, in every single movie, Randall's like, or Dante's like, my life is going nowhere. And at the start of this one, it's like, my life was going somewhere, but now it's nowhere. And
that's I think what killed me. Like, the where he did the line where he was like, I was building a life. You're shooting a movie, and ultimately it's hollow. Because you always complain about how you have no life. And he's like, I had one, it didn't even get started. It died before it got started. When he delivered that line, that fucking destroyed me. When he had the heart attack, when he was sitting in the theater. And I was like, please don't let Rosario Dawson come in. please don't let her come in. And
I
when
knew
she
was
walked,
coming.
and when,
Once he went down, I kind of figured he was dead.
yeah, well, I was hoping it was going to be another bounce back situation. And then when she entered the theater, I was like, okay, that's not great. And then when my favorite line of the movie, and I'm going to try not to tear up when I say it. My favorite line of the movie was when she said, "Don't you want to stay and see how it ends?" And he said, "I trust the director's vision." I loved that because at that point, there's no argument about what's going to happen. It was a very, very thoughtful, very well. I mean, I honestly didn't know Brian O'Halloran had that kind of range. It was pretty incredible.
He doesn't really act all that much, does he?
No,
I think he's Kevin Smith's actor.
He's one of Kevin Smith's friends, and he's like, "You're going to be in this movie." He's like, "Okay."
Yeah. Well, it's like Walt Flanagan and like like a lot of those guys are just in his movies.
The his YouTube podcast buddy was the guy who I said looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. The guy with Lando with the two Lisas.
Yeah.
That was Fat Man Beyond. Fat Man Beyond, his co-host.
Okay.
I can't remember his name, but I saw that when I was looking at the cameo list. It's like, oh yeah, it's him from Fat Man Beyond.
Yeah,
one of the guys on the roof. I can't remember his name, but he was in that Comic Book Men show. He was one of the guys.
Yeah,
that were in
Brian.
There was multiple.
So
guys
Brian, Ming, and Walt were all on the roof.
Okay.
And Brian only had the quick scene where he was sitting next to Walt. Brian's the guy with the beard, and Walt and Brian are just watching the game. Ming was actually playing.
I think Mike Zapek was in there too. Mike, with the last name Z, with the dark hair, and normally like the goatee.
Oh, is it that's beautiful, man?
Mike Zapsik or something like that.
Yeah.
I think he was up there too because they were all in it. All of the guys from Comic Book Men were in it.
Yeah, everybody was in this movie. Like
Except for Jason Lee.
Well, so yeah, not and I was asking that too because like I was trying to bring that back around where I was like, they have to get Jason Lee in the film somewhere, and then I was like, well, he was in the second movie as just a dick. I think his name was Lance. That showed up for a little bit and then left. So there was no real reason to bring him back.
He was the guy who he was Pickle Fucker in Clerks II.
Yeah, well, Well, I mean, he made those Alvin and the Chipmunk movies. He probably doesn't need the money. I mean,
Jackson likes those Alvin and Chipmunk movies.
Yeah, well, he likes the videos that we play him to put him to
He
sleep.
He watched the first movie. He really enjoyed it.
I think he liked it for David Cross.
Probably.
Yeah.
But
what do you think?
What about Alvin and the Chipmunks?
But one of the other things about the movie theater scene at the end is I liked that instead of showing the footage that we were watching them record, we actually got to see Clerks. We got to see the clips of actual Clerks from how.
I think he was showing him the movie, but his life was flashing before his eyes.
Yeah.
Before he finally passed.
Yeah. And I did not expect him to walk away from the heart attack as soon as he had it, because they always tell you that whenever somebody's faced with like a serious medical issue, their will to live is the most important thing, and he had no will to live. No. He had it for 15 years. Nobody ever helped him try to rebound from that grief, and I can't begin to imagine that level of grief, to lose both the woman you love and your child in one fell stroke. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things of, they always say the worst pain a parent can go through is losing a child, but he never even got to meet that child that he was probably, that Clerks II he was super excited for when they found out about it. And then him and Bex were getting ready to start a life together, really, and then he loses her, so it's just like everything he hoped for. So it's like he had no will to live. Yeah. So he wasn't leaving that theater. But I like the fact that he was seeing it. We were seeing the original Clerks in those moments. I thought that was a really, like, just a nice touching point. Yeah,
that ripped my guts out too when they did that. See, man, you've always been the Luke Skywalker of my movies, and like he's showing young them and young Dante, and I was like, in the back of my mind initially, I was like, where did you get this footage? Like,
it's not.
But I agree with your assessment. It was probably just
it was the footage they were doing, but because it was essentially scenes from his life, he's not seeing it as the movie that they shot. He's seeing it as the life that he lived.
Yeah, that makes way more sense. But yeah, it's I was just I was very, very pleased with the movie. Like I said, the beginning of the movie when we started running it, I didn't mean to make you watch it last night. All I did was go to look to see what was on the server, and I saw it and was like, ah. And I was sitting down to check the copy, and I was like, ah, it's a good copy. And I just kept watching, and you just kept sitting back there, and I was like, I guess we're watching this movie. So, and then all I was doing was just telling you I saw it.
Yep.
And
I
then
don't think I even said much about it. I was just like, oh, okay. Because I wasn't going to ask you how it was, because I was, in case you wanted to talk about it. Like, what'd you say? Just watched Clerks III. I'm like, oh, is it streaming somewhere else? I don't think so. That's how I watched it, on Plex. It's like, I'll have to watch it at some point. It's like, here's where it is. You could watch it now, and you could bang that one out if you want. So you totally said, like, hey, let's do this.
Oh, I felt bad so I didn't know that it was out there until you asked that question. I was like, nah, it's not out there. And then I just looked, and it was like, hey, watch Clerks digitally. And it's on all these different platforms. And I was like, oh, Amazon Prime. I know he's got Prime.
I have your Prime.
Yeah.
But it's not streaming on Prime.
It's not. Yeah.
Oh.
It's
viable.
It is digital purchases on various locations, and I saw YouTube on the list, which is where I usually buy my movies.
All right.
So I went to see if it was rentable, and it was not. It was buyable.
My bad. I thought they were actually hosting a movie up there without you having to purchase it. But all right.
So
sorry.
so at least I've learned a little trick. So like if I go to YouTube and look at a movie, it's like this movie's $20. I'm like, okay. So I go to the Google Play Store. And it's like this movie's $15. I'm like, there it is, and then I can watch it on YouTube.
There you go.
Oh, good trick.
Well, I think that the one on YouTube, they're like selling the Ultra HD version. I'm like, I don't need that shit. So you go to Google Play and it's like, here's standard def in HD and whatever.
Yeah, you don't need that for a Kevin Smith movie. That half of it's being shown in black and white.
But I'm also watching on my little shitty TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you don't want to watch it in Ultra HD or just Jason Mewes' teeth will just jump right off the screen and start punching you right in the fucking head.
It's just, I don't know, if you get like new teeth, just make them like not white.
You can do that really easily too. All you have to do is like drink like 5
Tea.
cups of coffee a day.
Or tea.
Tea will work
Or just
too.
don't brush your teeth.
No, brush your teeth.
But yeah, it's I thought it was a great flick.
It's fine. I think it does well, but a lot of what it does well is based off of previous movies and then kind of newer life experiences that you get when you're getting old. So what do you get when you're getting old? You get to watch your friends die. So look forward to that.
Yeah. Can't argue with that.
So the things that make it, the thoughts I have when I watch this movie is, great, I either get to die first or I get to watch my friends die.
I just don't know how to respond to that.
Which is why I usually watch stupid fucking movies.
Yeah, like I
movies-
knew
and movies that
immediately
make me feel-
though.
that
It
movies
was
that make
like,
me feel
this is
shit.
going to have too much sads for Nick. Too much sads.
Well, I didn't think about that. Like we watched the movie and all I was saying was I watched the movie. Mm-hmm. And then you were like, is it streaming somewhere? And I was like, I don't think so. And then when I found out it was, I was like, well, I just told him that it's not out there in case he wants to watch it. So I was like, here it is. And then I was like, well, I think he likes Clerks. I think he likes Kevin Smith. It's like, well, you're coming over tomorrow early.
It's like we're shooting 2 tomorrow, and you want to shoot a third? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, all right, I can fit the movie in.
Well, it was fresh in my mind. Amber really enjoyed it, so I knew that Amber would probably want to sit on the review. So it was like, let's just go ahead and bang it out. Because if we did it like next week, then a lot of it just... I mean, honestly, it's like you and I will sit out on the front porch and be like, let's do this movie, and let's do this movie. Okay, this sounds great. We really like these movies. Let's do this movie. And on Wednesday, I send you a text going, what are we watching again? I can't remember shit these days. Like, nothing.
It doesn't help the child doesn't sleep.
It's to the point also where, like, when we're discussing movies, like, let's watch these movies tomorrow or next week. I'm going to text them to you now so that you have it written down.
So before I sent you that thing earlier saying, what else were we watching? I literally went back to my phone and went, nope, Nick didn't do that last week.
Apparently, I can't be like, he seemed to know. This is a thing he
So
suggested.
he
He'll
asked me
remember.
multiple times if I knew, and I was like, I know. Oh, I knew one.
Yeah.
And the other one, I was like, all I could remember was y'all discussing what your next
We had
have you seen might be the list that you were like, well, what about one of these? And that was it. It was like, no, because I don't think they do it in a have you seen soon. So it's like, I don't know. You have to ask Nick. I don't remember.
Yeah, we had a discussion after he went to bed. But unfortunately, he said it at like 11 o'clock, which I go to bed at like 10, 11.
Yeah.
I slept right through it. And when I woke up, I'm like, Gargoyles. Hope you still have enough time to do something with that.
Yeah,
Well,
he got done.
there's a spoiler for what it is.
Yeah, that's coming up.
A 20-minute episode, so it's like I banged that out pretty fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, sorry. Let me just go ahead and say I'm sorry. I made you watch a Feels movie. I'm sorry. I made you buy and watch a Feels movie. I'm sorry. But for me, it was a no-brainer.
I'm sorry, I should have rated it higher because I really did love it more than I'm pretending I am right now. Because I wanted to torpedo all y'all's ratings.
No, it's not that. It's literally no, and I get it, and it's funny. No, it's just the
way to go.
The first half of the movie, watching it, I was like, okay, well, I mean, I guess I could pick this up tomorrow. And then they ran back through Becky to the hospital, and I was like, okay, now I have to sit and watch what that's fucking about. And I wasn't intrigued until you went, what happened to the baby? And I was like, I have to find out what happened to the baby. And then you get into more feels, like the tiny dick stuff, not funny. The banter back and forth about the Mandalorian and her getting all the quotes wrong from the different, from all the different movie genres, Live Long and Prosper, or whatever she said. That was funny. And I like Amy Sudeikis. I think she's adorable. Sedaris.
Jason Sudeikis.
His sister?
No, so Jason Sudeikis, Amy Sedaris. Different last names.
Isn't there another Sedaris out there?
Maybe.
I feel like there's another Sedaris out there.
You'll have to look that up on your own free time, not my dime.
This is his free time.
That was actually pretty good. I'm gonna have to use that. Did you just make that up? Yeah. That was pretty good. All right. Fuck you. Anyways,
I agree. Like, this movie wasn't funny, really. I mean, a lot of it's old bits that have been seen before, and then they're like, "Hey, remember that time that like 37? Remember that number? Hey, remember that number? Remember?" I'm like, okay, yeah, I do remember.
well.
One of the funny things I enjoyed were the goth outfits that Elias was going through when he became a Satan.
And he had one of the other more powerful scenes in the movie too. Like whenever he was telling Randall off, like I didn't think that actor was capable of like that, like the rage. I felt like that rage was real too.
It's finally got it fucking out there.
Yeah.
Although you can tell how don't put NFTs in your movie because that shit was dated already.
Yep.
Hey, look, I got rich off NFTs. That was like 2 months at best. And that shit was fucking dead.
It's like, that was the dumbest idea I've ever seen.
Well, the scam artists got their fucking money.
Well, it just makes you wonder about fucking Bitcoin now, too. But it's like...
That's also a scam.
It's as real as credit.
Yeah.
So...
It's all cryptocurrency... It only has value because people say it has value. As soon as confidence in it goes away, because it's not backed by any actual equity, it loses all value. It could literally go from being worth $15,000 right this second, if that was how much it was worth, to 0.2 of a cent tomorrow, and that would be absolutely fine because there's nothing to back it. There is no standard. Okay, the reason like U.S. currency used to be considered the gold standard because it was backed by gold that was in Fort Knox and other treasury.
It was a literal gold standard.
It was based off of basically the quantity of gold that we had. We have, since all currency has kind of moved away from physical asset based, but to a certain degree, it's still a little bit based on the assets or credit of the country, which is a little bit more stable than. Well, I got this chain code running on this server for blockchain. Yeah, I've got this blockchain running, this really complex equation on this server, and I say it's worth $15,000. Oh, you'll buy it for $15,000. Well, I'll keep running on this server, but you can have it. That's cryptocurrency. It has no inherent value.
Yeah, government money has value because the government says it has value, and we all
agree
the government has value for whatever reason.
I'll give you this piece of paper with a face on it, and you give me a thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, well let's do that.
But that's why inflation can affect the up and down without printing of new money, is because there's no true backing of it anymore. But back in the day, you would get inflation by just printing more money to say, oh, well, we have more money in the currency, but we don't have enough money to back it up. So then that's what they did in Germany after World War One.
But I mean,
that
I guess
caused the crash of their economy, which ultimately led to World War Two.
Yeah, and you can tell our money has no value because pennies cost more than a penny.
Yeah, I think Canadian money is like same value now, where we used to.
The euro and the U.S. dollar are actually roughly equivalent for the first time in a really long time. But I think that's a devaluation.
Thanks,
of the
Brexit.
euro.
The pound's dipped as well.
Thanks, Brexit.
And I think the yen's back up, or maybe the dollar's down.
Well, the dollar's kind of
That's
fluctuating
when-
down, but all of the currencies for the most part are fluctuating down because of the global inflation. But that goes into the whole supply chain issue because the inflation across the world was going to happen based on the way that transportation costs were skyrocketing. Sorry, my work is bleeding over into this right now.
I think when we were in college, 100 yen was about $1,
Roughly.
and now it's like 140 yen is
Yeah.
$1.
So it costs more yen to get $1, which actually means the dollar is stronger against the yen.
Well, you get more yen for $1. Right? No, it's...
If I give you $1 and you give me 100 yen back
okay.
then, now you have to give me 140 for my dollar. So yeah, the yen would be down. The only thing I'm saying about that is that with crypto, it's like I give you real money and you give me digital money, and it goes up and down by popularity. I get that. I never got about NFTs where they were like, it's a meme that I made that you get to keep and it's yours if you buy it. And it's like, but it's already out there on the internet.
It's you're owning the intellectual rights. When really all you're actually owning is a receipt that points to a thing, that points to an image.
But that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Thing.
Yeah, no,
and
it was
used,
clearly a scam.
And it was a scam. People would because I would say, hey, buy this NFT for me. Like I minted this NFT. You buy it for me for $30,000, and then you sell it to someone because I'll have a receipt that says it's worth $30,000. Now you can sell it to someone for $50,000, and you give me back $30,000, and you give me $20,000.
I think
something like that.
I think I watched something that said that's how the art world works right now.
It's how rich people you launder their money. Because it's not money laundering if you buy a piece of art.
This bit of educational was brought to you by.
It's conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Can you go grab our tinfoil hats? They're right there. I can see
No.
it. Okay.
Let's put our NFT, our tinfoil hats on. Well, you see, the art world is actually the reason why you look at this piece of thing and go, it's about my inner self-loathing or whatever. $1 million, please.
Well, those are our NFTs. They're new foil toques that we just put on our heads. Sorry. So let's get back to Clerks 3. Is there anything more to say about Clerks?
I think we can be.
Yeah.
Because we kind of hit on the emotional bits, and I brought up the thing I want to say, like, because I was watching it and the NFT made money. I'm like, it's too late for that.
People love kite NFTs, so
I guess there was the Buddy Christ reference with the kites.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get about the kites. It's like I agreed with Randall. Who the fuck flies kites anymore? He's lots of people. I was
no one flies kites.
I was like, that's a piece of paper. That's not even a kite. That's like literally a piece of poster board. It was bad.
Wood? Yeah, that's exactly what a kite is.
Yeah, but like they're usually something more durable. That looked like it was straight up like deli meat paper.
You've not seen kites these days.
Yeah, when you go enjoy your kite and it rips, you have to come back and buy a new kite. It's called artificial.
They're at least made out of plastic.
Why would you want it made out of plastic?
More durable?
You need it to be able to catch.
Hey, have you flown a kite lately? Put down in the comments what it was made out of. I've got to know.
I will let you know.
You don't want to buy a plastic kite because it's not biodegradable. These ones are good for the environment, and therefore Jesus loves them.
Oh, also, how are you going to get a plastic kite to fly?
Anything that how do you get a fucking metal airplane to fly? Anything that catches wind in the right way.
Jet engines.
Yeah, but typically when you have a paper or a paper kite, or you have
it has to be like that thin mylar plastic crap.
Yeah, it catches the wind and it pushes against it. It has to, that's why like they have the cloths or
paper though, like catches a really hard wind, it's just gonna rip right through.
Yeah, you can thank the Chinese for that. Didn't they invent paper kites?
I think they did.
Yeah, see.
Because we could be done with this one.
Yeah.
We're not talking about anything anymore.
So if you want a lot of great cameos, the fact that they bring everyone back, and I mean everyone. Jennifer Schwalbach's in this one.
How'd they get her?
Yeah, I know. I'm sure her schedule was really busy.
She's a busy oral surgeon, probably
fact
in real life.
The fact that they also brought back Veronica, like I loved seeing Ronnie again. Ethan Suplee, even though he did like a throwaway line, it was still a line that was from Mallrats, which means you still could have gotten fucking. Where was Brody? If you brought back Suplee, where was Brody?
Jason Lee was like,
Yeah,
screw you.
I guess I'm just too good for these movies now. I'm just kidding, Jason Lee. I love you.
Jason Lee was like, there's no central air. Pass.
Yeah.
He probably read the script and was like, "There's nothing in here about superhero genitalia. I'm not doing this." And he's like, "We'll talk about Mr. Fantastic's dick." And he's like, "Nope, it's too late, Kevin. You already lost me." But I mean, they got back Affleck. How come they could not get Jason Lee? Anyways, if you like the cameos, if you like Clerks 1, mainly Clerks 2, they reference it for the fact that Elias was in it.
Well,
And the Donkey
Becky
Show.
and the Donkey Show and going to the movies.
Yeah.
And Dante owning the equipment. I mean, it's all there. I mean, if you like Clerks, you'll probably like this one. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't sure if I was gonna like Jason and or Jay and Silent Bob were gonna talk about their whole experience with the latest movie because I didn't see that one. They didn't really. I guess they owned a weed shop, which is different. But
They did
for the most part. I didn't feel like I missed anything for having
The
not
only
watched
thing
that
that
movie.
they really said was
Cocksmoker.
they've been on 2 movie sets, which was referencing the fact that in the second one there's another movie set.
And Cocksmoker was from Cocksmoker Chicken Sandwiches was from that movie, so the reboot. But anyways, if you like Clerks, this is Kevin Smith's trilogy. So go see it and bring some fucking tissues, because
The trilogy doesn't go out with a bang. It goes out with a...
butter. Yeah,
too much butter.
yeah, it goes out with a myocardial infarction. So, big words that you didn't know I knew. Thanks, George Carlin.
No, I knew that word, but I'm not going to go into that right now.
Because every night, at least one time, I go, it's my myocardial infarction. No, it was just gas. All right, so thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
I hope you learned a little something about crypto and NFTs
Yeah, don't trust
And
us.
inflation and currencies.
and supply and demand.
Yeah. If you want to know more about the logistics world, please don't ask. I really don't want to talk about it.
And I don't want to fix your computer. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add on? Or?
And I don't want to draw your picture.
Yes, and he doesn't want to make you a map.
Yeah.
He's really good at making maps. Get him to draw a map.
Yeah, you are.
He's really good.
No, I've seen maps. They're much better. All right, we can wrap this one up.
Okay. So, thanks.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.